The key to my new apartment felt like a brick in my pocket. I stared at my bank account balance on my phone, my stomach twisting into knots. $0. Nothing. Just yesterday, there was over $60,000 sitting there. My entire college fund, every penny I'd saved for years. My hands shook as I dialed my mom's number, the San Diego sun glaring through my car window. "Mom, where did my college fund go?" My voice cracked, despite my best effort to sound calm. A long pause stretched across the line. I could picture her, Linda, nervously twisting a strand of her dark hair around her finger. "Oh, honey, about that." Another pause, heavier this time. "Your sister, Sophia, needed the money for her new business venture. You know how important this is for the family." The words hit me like a slap. I'm Emma, the one who always played by the rules, who saved every dime, who dreamed of a degree in education. And in that moment, I realized I was nothing to my own family. The apartment key burned against my thigh, a reminder of the independence I thought I'd earned. The front door of our family home slammed shut, jolting me from my thoughts. Sophia's voice boomed through the house, loud and carefree as always. "Hey, sis. Come check out what your college fund bought." My legs moved before my brain caught up, carrying me outside to the driveway. There, gleaming under the California sun, was a 30-foot luxury yacht. Not just any boat, but a sleek, white monster that probably cost more than most people's annual salaries. "Isn't she a beauty?" Sophia ran her hand along the hull, her grin wide, like a kid unwrapping the best Christmas present ever. "Mom and I figured, since you're so good with money, you could earn your way through college. This investment? Way smarter than some dusty degree." My throat tightened. "You took my money without asking?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but it wavered, betraying the storm inside me. Sophia shrugged, her eyes flicking to the boat with pride. "Mom agreed it was the right call. We're expanding the family entertainment business. This yacht's perfect for luxury coastal tours out of San Diego Bay." Mom stepped out onto the driveway, her smile hesitant but supportive. She placed a hand on my shoulder. "Sweetheart, your sister's got a real knack for business. This is what's best for everyone." "Everyone but me, right?" I shrugged her hand off, stepping back to study their faces. No guilt, no remorse, just a hint of annoyance, like I was overreacting. "Don't be so dramatic, Emma." Sophia rolled her eyes, leaning against the yacht's railing. "You could be part of this too. Maybe work as a tour guide or something. You'd be great at it." My phone buzzed in my pocket, snapping me out of the moment. A text from my real estate agent, confirming the closing date on the apartment I'd secretly bought in Pacific Beach. The same property my family had been eyeing for months, dreaming of turning it into their next big restaurant venture. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. "I need some air," I muttered, turning away from the yacht and their smug faces. Their voices faded as I walked to my car, Sophia calling out something about the boat's features. I didn't care. I couldn't breathe. I drove to my best friend Chloe's place, tears blurring the road ahead. The coastal breeze did nothing to cool the fire in my chest. Chloe opened her door before I could knock, her eyes softening as she took one look at my face. She pulled me into a hug, her arms steady and warm. "They did it, didn't they?" she asked, her voice gentle but knowing. "They took my college fund," I whispered into her shoulder, the words bitter on my tongue. $60,000. Gone. They bought a stupid yacht. Didn't even ask me. Chloe pulled back, her hazel eyes searching mine. "What are you going to do, Emma?" I wiped my eyes, the apartment key heavy in my pocket. "They think they know me. They think I'll just take it like always." I straightened, my voice firmer now. But they're wrong. They're about to find out just how wrong. The sting of betrayal clung to me like salt on skin. I stood in the driveway, the yacht's polished hull glinting mockingly under the San Diego sun. Sophia's casual shrug burned in my mind, her words echoing. A tour guide. That's what she thought of me. My college fund, $60,000, reduced to a prop for her grand plans. I faced her, my voice low but sharp. You really think this is okay? Taking my money, my future, without even a conversation. Sophia leaned against the yacht, crossing her arms. Emma, chill. It's not like we stole it. This is for the family. You'll get your chance to shine. Her tone was patronizing, like she was explaining colors to a child. Get my chance. I stepped closer, my hands clenched. That money was my chance. For college. For a degree. For something that's mine. Mom, Linda, fidgeted beside Sophia, her eyes darting between us. Sweetheart, we didn't mean to hurt you. Sophia's business is a sure thing. Luxury tours, coastal events, it's going to put our name on the map. I laughed, a bitter sound that surprised even me. Your name, maybe? Not mine. I looked at Sophia, her confident smirk faltering just a fraction. You didn't ask me. You didn't even think I deserved a say. Sophia rolled her eyes, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You're so good with numbers, Emma. You'll figure out college. Scholarships, loans, whatever. This yacht is an investment. It's practical. Practical? My voice rose, cracking like a wave against rock. You spent my future on a boat, and you call that practical? Enough. Mom stepped forward, her hand raised like a referee. Emma, we made a decision for the family. You'll understand when you're older. The words cut deeper than I expected. I was 22, not a kid, but to them, I was just the quiet daughter who'd fall in line. I turned away, my sneakers crunching on the gravel. I need to be alone. Sophia called after me, her voice dripping with mock concern. Don't be so sensitive, sis. You're part of this family, too. I didn't look back. I climbed into my car, the engine humming as I pulled out of the driveway. The Pacific Beach skyline blurred past, my tears making the road a watercolor mess. I drove to Chloe's apartment, my safe haven since high school. She was waiting on her porch, her curly hair tied back, her eyes sharp with understanding. Before I could speak, she wrapped me in a hug, her lavender shampoo grounding me. They really did it, Chloe said, pulling back to study my face. They took your college fund. I nodded, my throat tight. $60,000. For a yacht. Sophia's acting like it's no big deal, and Mom's backing her up. I sank onto the porch steps, the wood cool against my legs. They think I'm nothing, Chloe. Just a means to an end. Chloe sat beside me, her voice steady. They're wrong. You're not nothing. You're Emma, the one who's been planning her future since we were kids. She paused, her eyes glinting with mischief. And you've got a secret they don't know about, don't you? I managed a small smile, the weight of the apartment key in my pocket shifting from burden to promise. The place on Oceanfront Walk. I bought it. Closed the deal last week. Chloe's jaw dropped, then she laughed, punching my arm lightly. You sneaky genius. That's the property your family's been obsessed with for their fancy restaurant, right? Exactly. I wiped my eyes, the tears drying as resolve took over. They've been talking about it for years. Oceanfront Walk, the perfect spot for their empire. I heard them 3 years ago, plotting to use my college fund for the down payment. So I started saving, investing, working 2 jobs. And now it's mine. Chloe leaned forward, her voice low. Are you sure you want to do this? Once you tell them, it's war. No turning back. I thought of Sophia's smug grin, Mom's dismissive wave. I'd spent years watching them prioritize Sophia's dreams, excusing every reckless choice she made. They need to learn they can't walk all over me, I said, my voice firm. I'm done being their doormat. Chloe handed me a tissue, her smile proud. Then you've got this. But you're not alone, okay? I'm Team Emma, all the way. My phone buzzed, a text from my real estate agent. Closing documents finalized. Oceanfront Walk is officially yours. I showed Chloe, my heart racing. It's real. I did this. You did, Chloe said, squeezing my hand. And when you drop this bomb, it's going to shake their world. I looked out at the sunset, the Pacific Ocean painting the sky in pinks and oranges. The pain of their betrayal still lingered, but something new burned beneath its determination. They thought they knew me, thought I'd crumble. They were about to see just how strong I could be. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and freedom as I drove to my Grandma Margaret's house in La Jolla. My hands still trembled from the confrontation with Sophia and Mom, their words looping in my mind like a broken record. For the family. A sure thing. You'll understand. But I wouldn't. The key to my oceanfront walk apartment sat heavy in my pocket, a secret anchor grounding me. Margaret was the one person who'd always seen me, and I needed her now. Her front door swung open before I could knock. Margaret stood there, her silver hair pulled into a neat bun, her eyes sharp and knowing. "Heard about the yacht," she said, her voice calm but laced with disapproval. "Come in, Emma. Tea's ready." I followed her into the cozy kitchen, where the smell of fresh-baked cookies mingled with chamomile. She slid a steaming mug across the table, her gaze steady. "Tell me everything." I did. The words spilled out Sophia's smug grin, Mom's excuses, the $60,000 of my college fund now floating in San Diego Bay as a luxury yacht. "They didn't even ask me, Grandma. They just took it. Like my dreams don't matter." My voice cracked, and I looked down, embarrassed by the tears welling up. Margaret reached across the table, her hand warm and steady on mine. "Sometimes, the people we love hurt us the most because they think they know what's best." She paused, her eyes distant. "When I was your age, my sister tried to convince our parents to give her my share of the inheritance for a can't-miss boutique. They almost did." "What happened?" I asked, wiping my eyes. "She got the money. The shop failed in a year." Margaret's lips curved into a wry smile. "But the real cost was trust. It took years to rebuild. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't loud and angry. It's quiet. Smart." I pulled the apartment key from my pocket and set it on the table, the metal glinting under the kitchen light. "I bought the oceanfront walk property. The one they wanted for their restaurant." Margaret's eyes widened, then a slow, proud smile spread across her face. "Well, You've been planning this, haven't you?" I nodded, my voice steadier now. 3 years ago, I overheard them. Mom and Sophia, in her office. They were talking about Oceanfront Walk, how it'd be the flagship for their entertainment empire. Sophia said they'd need at least $400,000 for the down payment. I leaned forward, the memory sharp. Mom said there's always Emma's college fund. She won't need all of it. Margaret's jaw tightened, but she didn't interrupt. That night, I opened my first investment account with $5,000 I'd saved from my library job. I swore I'd beat them to it. I met her gaze, my heart racing. And I did. "It's mine now." "You're smarter than they give you credit for," Margaret said, squeezing my hand. "What's your plan for it?" I took a deep breath, the vision clear in my mind. A community education center. Affordable classes, workshops, a library. A place for people who can't afford college or who need a second chance. I want to build something that matters. Margaret leaned back, her eyes shining with pride. "That's your father's spirit in you. He built his hardware store from nothing, no shortcuts, no stepping on others. Just hard work and heart." I thought of Dad, gone 5 years now, his quiet strength a ghost in my life. "I'm scared," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "What if they fight me? What if they hate me?" "Fear means you know the stakes," Margaret said, her tone firm but kind. "But sometimes, burning bridges lights the way forward." She took a sip of tea, her eyes never leaving mine. "When are you telling them?" I pictured Sophia's smug face, Mom's dismissive wave. "Soon. They're having a family dinner next week to talk about their business plans." "I think that's the moment." Margaret nodded, a glint of mischief in her eyes. "Then you'd better be ready. They won't see this coming." The weight of the key felt different now, not a burden, but a promise. I tucked it back into my pocket, my resolve hardening. They think I'm predictable. Weak. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Margaret stood, pulling a tray of cookies from the oven. You're not just fighting for yourself, Emma. You're fighting for everyone they've overlooked. Remember that. As I drove home, the San Diego skyline glowed against the twilight. I thought back to that night 3 years ago, standing outside Mom's office, coffee cooling in my hands. Sophia's voice had been so confident. Oceanfront walk is perfect, Mom. We'll wait a few years, then make our move. Mom's reply had been colder. Emma's fund will cover it. That moment had changed me. It lit a fire I hadn't known I could carry. I'd spent years watching them favor Sophia, excusing her every whim while my dreams were pushed aside. No more. My phone buzzed as I pulled into my driveway. A text from Chloe. Just saw Sophia's latest post-up pics, captioned "Family Empire in the Making." You okay? I opened the post, Sophia lounging on the deck, sunglasses perched on her nose. My college fund, reduced to a photo op. I typed back, I'm more than okay. They're not ready for what's coming. The stars blinked above, steady and sure. For the first time in days, I felt a spark of hope. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my story, my future. And I was ready to write it. The San Diego sun hung low, casting golden streaks across the city as I sat across from Chloe at our favorite coffee shop in Pacific Beach. The smell of roasted beans and the hum of conversation grounded me, but my mind was still spinning from Grandma Margaret's words. Quiet. Smart. That's how I'd play this. My phone lay on the table, the real estate app open to the Oceanfront Walk property. The secret felt like a heartbeat, steady and alive. Chloe scrolled through photos of the apartment on her phone, her eyes wide. I still can't believe you pulled this off, Emma. She shook her head, her curls bouncing. 3 years of grinding, and you own the place your family's been drooling over. How'd you do it? I stirred my latte, the foam swirling in lazy circles. 2 jobs. Library by day, diner by night. Living like a hermit. I gestured to my faded hoodie and scuffed sneakers. Everyone thought I was bad with money, but I was saving. Investing. Crypto help got in early on a few coins. Tech stocks too. Risky, but it paid off. Chloe leaned forward, her voice low. And they have no idea, do they? Your mom, Sophia, nobody knows you're the mystery buyer. Not yet. I smiled, remembering how Margaret had insisted on letting me use her La Jolla address for the paperwork. The realtor thinks I'm some history buff preserving the building's charm. I let her believe it. Chloe laughed, then her expression shifted, her eyes narrowing. Speaking of your family, Sophia's been blowing up social media with that yacht. All family empire this. Big moves that. I pulled out my phone and opened Sophia's latest post. There she was, lounging on the yacht's deck, the San Diego skyline behind her. The caption read, "Setting sail for the future. Stay tuned for the next Parker family project." My $60,000 college fund, reduced to a backdrop for her ego. My jaw tightened, but I pushed the anger down. She's got no clue what's coming. The bell above the coffee shop door jingled, and I instinctively ducked lower in my seat. Mom walked in, her phone pressed to her ear, her voice clipped. Yes, we're very interested in the Oceanfront Walk property. As soon as it hits the market, we want first dibs. Chloe raised an eyebrow, her lips twitching. I held my breath as Mom ordered a cappuccino, still talking. Renovation plans are ready. We just need the property secured. She didn't notice us, too absorbed in her call. As she left, her heels clicking on the tile, Chloe whispered, "She's got no idea you already own it." I exhaled, my heart racing. It's crazy, Chloe. If they'd just asked me about the yacht, explained their plans, maybe even promised to pay me back, I might have helped. But they took what was mine like I didn't matter. Chloe's eyes softened. They underestimated you. Big mistake. I nodded, the memory of that night 3 years ago flashing back. I'd been bringing Mom coffee at her office, my sneakers silent on the carpet. Sophia's voice had drifted through the cracked door. Oceanfront Walk is the spot, Mom. Perfect for the restaurant. We'll need 400 grand for the down payment. Mom's reply had been cold, calculated. Emma's college fund will cover most of it. She won't need it all. That moment had lit a fire in me. I'd gone home, opened an investment account with my $5,000 savings, and started planning. Every late shift at the diner, every book I shelved at the library, every penny I didn't spend, it all went toward beating them to Oceanfront Walk. When are you telling them? Chloe asked, snapping me back to the present. I pulled the apartment key from my pocket, its weight solid in my hand. They're having a family dinner next week to talk about expanding the business. Seems like the perfect time to drop the news. Chloe grinned, raising her coffee mug like a toast. To Emma, the quiet storm. I clinked my mug against hers, a spark of excitement cutting through the hurt. To taking back what's mine? That evening, I stopped by Margaret's again. She was in her garden, tending to her roses, the air thick with their sweet scent. Your mom called today, she said, snipping a wilted bloom with precision. She's buzzing about their plans for Oceanfront Walk. Did she mention the yacht? I asked, leaning against the fence. Margaret's shears paused, her eyes meeting mine. Not a word. But I have my ways of finding out. She turned back to her roses, her voice steady. You know, when I was your age, my sister pulled a stunt like this. Convinced our parents her boutique was the future. It failed, but the lesson stuck. Using family comes with a price. I thought of Sophia's yacht, Mom's excuses. They're about to learn that price. Margaret set her shears down, her smile soft but fierce. You're not just fighting for yourself, Emma. You're rewriting the rules. Make them listen. As I drove home, the Pacific Ocean glittering under the moonlight, I felt the shift inside me. This wasn't just about a property or a fund. It was about proving I was more than their afterthought. The dinner was coming, and with it, the moment to show them who I really was. The morning sun spilled across the kitchen table, glinting off Sophia's blueprints for her dream restaurant. She spread them out with a flourish, her voice brimming with excitement. Oceanfront Walk is going to be perfect, Mom. Picture Ida's Seafood Bistro on the ground floor, a rooftop bar with views of the Pacific, maybe even a live music lounge downstairs. Her elbow knocked over my coffee mug, the dark liquid pooling on my shirt. I dabbed at it, my patience thin. Sounds expensive, I said, my tone flat, masking the storm brewing inside me. That's the beauty of it, Sophia grinned, oblivious to my sarcasm. The old owner had no clue what they were sitting on. Mom's been tracking this property for years. Once it's listed, we'll swoop in with an offer they can't refuse. I raised an eyebrow, keeping my voice neutral. Where's the money coming from? You already used my $60,000 college fund for the yacht. Mom stepped in quickly, cutting off Sophia's response. Emma, let's not rehash that. She poured herself coffee, her movements brisk. Sophia, I just got off the phone with the broker. There's already interest in Oceanfront Walk. I pretended to scroll through my phone, but my ears were locked on their conversation. Sophia's voice sharpened. Interest? It's not even on the market yet. Apparently, someone's sniffing around, Mom said, stirring sugar into her cup. An investor wants to preserve the building's historic charm. I bit my lip to hide a smile. Historic charm. That was me, the mystery buyer, hiding in plain sight. Sophia scoffed, tossing her hair. Historic charm? It's just an old apartment building. We need to move fast, Mom. Can we put in an early offer? I tried, Mom sighed, but the broker said the owner's already negotiating with another buyer. Don't worry, I'm meeting her again today. My phone buzzed, right on cue. A call from the same broker. I stepped into the hallway, my pulse quickening. Miss Parker, the broker whispered, your mother's pushing hard for Oceanfront Walk. I'm not sure how much longer I can stall without revealing you're the buyer. Just a little longer, I said softly, glancing back at the kitchen. I'll tell them everything at the family dinner next week. Back at the table, Sophia was still grumbling, her hands waving. This is our future, our empire. Some history nerd can't just waltz in and ruin it. Maybe they have dreams too, I said, sliding into my seat, my voice calm but pointed. Their own plans. Sophia snorted, her eyes narrowing. What do you know about dreams, Emma? You can barely keep your checking account straight. Mom placed a hand on Sophia's arm, her tone soothing. Sophia, be nice. Emma, why don't you help us brainstorm? You could be part of this. Really? I raised an eyebrow, leaning forward. Like I was part of deciding what happened to my college fund? Sophia rolled her eyes, her voice dripping with exasperation. Again with that? Get over it. This is bigger than your community college plan. I stood, my chair scraping against the tile. I have to get to work. Some of us still earn a living. The diner where I worked my second job was buzzing with the lunch rush. I poured coffee for a regular, filling Chloe in between orders. They're desperate, I said, wiping my hands on my apron. You should have seen Sophia's face when Mom mentioned another buyer. Chloe, munching on a sandwich at the counter, raised an eyebrow. Second thoughts. No, I leaned against the counter, my voice low. But sometimes I wonder what Dad would think. He always said hard work and honesty were the only way. Your dad would be proud, a familiar voice said behind me. I turned to see Grandma Margaret perched on a bar stool, her eyes warm but serious. He'd cheer you on for standing up for yourself. Grandma, what are you doing here? I asked, a smile tugging at my lips. Can't a grandma check on her granddaughter? She stirred sugar into her coffee, her tone casual. Your mom called, asking if I'd chip in for their restaurant plan. My stomach tightened. What did you say? I told her I'd think about it. Margaret winked, her voice dropping. Didn't mention I'm already backing another project. I grinned, the weight of her support settling over me like a warm blanket. Family dinners in 3 days, I whispered. It's going to change everything. Change isn't always bad, Emma, Margaret said, squeezing my hand. Sometimes it's the only way forward. That evening, I drove to Oceanfront Walk. A sold sign gleamed in the window, confirming what the broker had told meth sale was final. My heart raced as I touched the key in my pocket. In less than a week, I'd face my family and reveal the truth. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. Emergency family meeting tonight. Oceanfront Walk strategy session. Be there or prove you don't care about us. I typed back, I'll be there. A smile crept across my face. The hardest part wasn't the planning or the saving. It was keeping a straight face while watching them walk into the trap they'd set for themselves. As I drove to Margaret's for one last pep talk, the Pacific Ocean shimmered under the stars. She was waiting in her garden, her roses glowing in the moonlight. You're ready for this, she said, her voice steady. Not because you're angry, but because you're right. I nodded, the key solid in my hand. They think they know me. They don't. Margaret's eyes twinkled. Then show them who you are. The dinner was coming, and with it, my moment. I wasn't just reclaiming a property. I was reclaiming my voice, my future. And no one, not Sophia, not Mom, could take that away. The dining room smelled of roasted garlic and lasagna, Grandma Margaret's recipe, but the warmth of the meal couldn't cut through the tension hanging over the table. Sophia sat at the head, her posture commanding, while Mom fussed with the salad bowl, avoiding my eyes. Margaret sat across from me, her silver hair catching the light, her expression calm but expectant. I clutched the Oceanfront Walk property deed in my pocket, its edges pressing into my palm. Tonight was the night. My heart thudded, but I kept my face neutral. Sophia stood, raising her wine glass with a flourish. Before we dig in, I've got big news. Her voice brimmed with confidence, her smile wide. Despite some hiccups with our real estate plans, I've lined up a meeting with investors for the restaurant project. Next week. They're pumped about our vision. Mom beamed, her hands clasped. That's wonderful, honey. When's the meeting? Tuesday, Sophia said, her eyes gleaming. It'd be better if we could lock down Oceanfront Walk, but we'll figure it out. I set my fork down, the clink loud in the quiet room. My pulse raced, but my voice stayed steady. Actually, I have news about that. Not now, Emma, Mom said, waving a hand, her tone dismissive. Let your sister finish. No, I said, my voice firm, cutting through the air like a blade. You'll want to hear this. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to me. I pulled the deed from my pocket and placed it on the table, the paper crisp against the white tablecloth. Sophia's brow furrowed as she leaned forward, her fingers brushing the document. What's this? Her voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in. The deed for 123 Oceanfront Walk, I said, my gaze locked on hers. My property. Mom's wine glass slipped from her hand, crashing against the table. Red wine spilled across the cloth, pooling like blood. What? Her voice was a whisper, her face pale. I'm the investor the broker mentioned, I continued, my words measured but sharp. I bought it last week. It's mine. Sophia snatched the deed, her hands trembling as she scanned it. This can't be right. You don't have that kind of money. Her voice rose, cracking with disbelief. Actually, I do. I leaned back, my eyes flicking to Mom. 3 years of saving, working 2 jobs, investing smart. Turns out, I'm better with money than you thought. Sophia's face flushed red, her knuckles white around the paper. You did this on purpose. You knew we wanted that property. Like you knew I wanted to go to college? I fired back, my voice steady but laced with years of hurt. Funny how that works. Emma, please. Mom's voice trembled, her hands wringing. We can work this out. We're family. Family? I laughed, the sound bitter, echoing in the quiet room. Is it family when you take my $60,000 college fund without asking? When you crush my dreams because they don't fit Sophia's plans? Ungrateful little Sophia started, standing, her chair scraping back. Sit down, Sophia. Grandma Margaret's voice cut through the chaos, sharp as a whip. She hadn't moved, but her presence filled the room. It's time you all learned something about consequences. Mom turned to Margaret, her eyes wide with betrayal. You knew about this? I did, Margaret said, taking a slow sip of wine. And I helped her. Someone had to stand up for what's right. This isn't right. Sophia slammed her hand on the table, the dishes rattling. This is sabotage. You've ruined everything. No, I stood, my voice calm but unyielding. I took control of my future. You taught me that, both of you, by showing me what it feels like when someone else decides your fate. We can pay you, Mom said, her voice desperate, her eyes darting to Sophia. More than you paid. Name your price. It's not for sale. I crossed my arms, the deed still on the table. I have plans for it. Plans? Sophia sneered, her lip curling. What, a book club? A study group? A community education center, I said, my voice rising with conviction. Affordable classes, workshops, a library. A place for people who can't afford college, who've been told their dreams don't matter. Not everyone can turn their college fund into a yacht. The silence was deafening. Mom stared at the spilled wine, her hands trembling. Sophia's face cycled through shades of red, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Margaret's eyes met mine, a quiet pride shining through. You've changed, Mom whispered, her voice barely audible. No, I corrected, my gaze steady. You just never saw who I was. Sophia stormed out, the front door slamming so hard the windows rattled. Mom started crying, wiping her eyes with a napkin, her shoulders shaking. Margaret stood, smoothing her skirt. I think that's enough excitement for one night. Emma, walk me to my car. Outside, the San Diego night was cool, the stars sharp against the sky. Margaret hugged me, her arms strong despite her age. You did good, sweetheart. Standing up to family isn't easy, but sometimes it's the only way. What happens now? I asked, the weight of the moment settling over me. Now, she smiled, her eyes glinting. You build something that matters. Something they can't ignore. As her car pulled away, the front door creaked open behind me. Mom stood there, her face streaked with tears. We really hurt you, didn't we? Her voice was soft, almost broken. I nodded, my throat tight. You did. I don't know how to fix this, she admitted, her hands twisting the napkin. Maybe stop trying to fix things, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Start listening instead. I walked to my car, leaving her in the doorway. The night air felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I'd carried for years. Tomorrow would bring more arguments, more attempts to sway me. But tonight, I'd spoken my truth. And it felt like freedom. As I drove home, the Pacific Ocean glittered under the moonlight, its waves whispering promises. I touched the key in my pocket, my fingers tracing its edges. Oceanfront Walk wasn't just a property. It was my stand, my future, my way of saying I mattered. My phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. How'd it go? You okay? I smiled, typing back, better than okay. I dropped the bomb. There shook. The road stretched ahead, leading me toward a horizon I could finally claim as mine. Sophia and Mom thought they'd written my story. They were wrong. I was writing it now, and the next chapter was going to be epic. The fallout from the family dinner lingered like smoke. I woke to a gray San Diego morning, the ocean hidden behind a veil of fog. My phone buzzed with notifications, Sophia's latest social media post glaring on the screen. A photo of her on the yacht, captioned, "Dreams don't wait for doubters." Parker Empire Rising. No mention of the Oceanfront Walk bombshell, but the jab was clear. She was doubling down, and I was the doubter. I tossed the phone aside, my resolve hardening. At the library, I shelved books, the quiet hum of routine calming my nerves. Until Sophia showed up, striding through the employee entrance in her tailored blazer, the one she wore to charm investors. We need to talk, she said, her voice low, her eyes darting around. I'm working, Sophia. I pushed a cart of books past her, my hands steady despite the knot in my stomach. She followed, her heels clicking. I talked to a lawyer this morning. There might be grounds to challenge the Oceanfront Walk sale. Something about you using Grandma's address. I stopped, turning to face her. Actually, I used Margaret's address legally. Everything's airtight. But nice try. My voice was calm, but inside, I was seething. She'd gone from smug to desperate overnight. Sophia grabbed my arm as I moved past. You're making a huge mistake, Emma. Her grip was tight, her eyes flashing. Is there a problem? My supervisor, Ms. Carter, appeared at the end of the aisle, her arms crossed. Nothing, I said, pulling free. My sister was just leaving. Sophia shot me a glare, but backed off, her heels echoing as she stormed out. I exhaled, my hands trembling. She wasn't giving up, but neither was I. That afternoon, Mom showed up at the diner, my second job. She sat at the counter, her hands folded, no order placed. I felt her eyes on me as I poured coffee for a regular. Finally, I approached, wiping my hands on my apron. Can I get you something? She ignored the question, her voice soft. Do you remember when you were little? Playing restaurant with that toy cash register? You were so good with numbers, Emma. I kept my expression neutral, my heart twisting. I'm still good with numbers, Mom. That's how I bought Oceanfront Walk. She flinched, her eyes dropping to the counter. You could still be part of the family business. We could work together, make something special. Like you made my college fund special? I started wiping the counter, my movements sharp. You took $60,000 without asking. What role do I have in your plans, Mom? Bookkeeper for Sophia's empire. I made mistakes, she said quietly, her voice cracking. We both did. But this revenge, Emma. It's not you. I stopped wiping, my eyes meeting hers. You don't know me. That's the problem. My phone buzzed, a text from Chloe. Heads up, Sophia's posting about a shady property deal. She's trying to spin this. I showed Mom the screen, my voice low. She's hurt, you say? She's trying to ruin my reputation because she can't handle losing. She's your sister, Mom said, her voice pleading. You're my daughter. We're family. I'm Dad's daughter too, I snapped, louder than I meant. Heads turned at nearby tables. I lowered my voice, leaning in. But you treat me like an ATM for Sophia's dreams. She reached for my hand, but I pulled back. I need to work. That evening, I met Grandma Margaret at Oceanfront Walk. The old apartment building stood proud, its weathered facade hiding endless potential. We walked through the empty rooms, our footsteps echoing on the hardwood. Sophia's getting desperate, I said, showing Margaret the latest post, a vague rant about betrayal and stolen dreams. Of course she is, Margaret said, her hand trailing along a dusty banister. She's never faced consequences before. Neither has your mom, not really. Mom came to the diner today, I said, leaning against a window. Tried to convince me to sell, to join them. I almost felt bad until I saw Sophia's post. Margaret stopped, looking out at the overgrown garden. Your dad built his first shop in a place like this. Everyone said it was too old, too broken. He saw what it could be. She turned to me, her eyes sharp. What do you see here, Emma? I looked around, past the peeling paint and creaky floors. A second chance. For kids who need a quiet place to study. For adults who want to learn but can't afford college. For anyone told their dreams don't count. Then hold that vision tight, she said, her voice firm. Because they're going to push harder before this is over. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Chloe. Sophia just showed up at my place, asking about your finances. She's digging for dirt. Losing it. I handed the phone to Margaret, a wry smile tugging at my lips. Let her dig. Everything I've done is legal. Transparent. Not like her business deals. Margaret squeezed my shoulder, her touch warm. The hardest part of standing your ground isn't the fight. It's the storm that follows. You ready for it? I touched the wall, imagining it lined with bookshelves, alive with students. I am. Let the storm come. As we left, the Pacific Ocean glittered under the stars, its waves a steady rhythm. Sophia's posts, Mom's pleas, they were noise, not progress. I'd built something real, something mine. And no amount of their desperation could take that away. Back home, I lay in bed, the deed on my nightstand. The family dinner had cracked open the truth, but the real test was coming. Sophia wouldn't stop, and Mom was still torn. But I wasn't the quiet daughter they expected anymore. I was Emma, the one who'd outsmarted them all. And I was just getting started. The morning of the grand opening felt like a new dawn. Sunlight streamed through the windows of the Oceanfront Walk building, now transformed into the Second Chance Education Center. The old apartment's creaky floors were polished, its walls lined with fresh paint and bookshelves. I stood in what used to be the master bedroom, now a computer lab, my heart racing with nervous pride. Chloe adjusted a monitor nearby, her curls bouncing as she worked. Grandma Margaret arranged a vase of sunflowers on the front desk, their golden petals bright against the wood. First students arrive in an hour, Chloe said, glancing at her watch. Nervous, Emma? I opened my mouth to answer, but a soft knock at the door stopped me. Mom stood in the entryway, clutching a small package, her face uncertain. I wasn't sure if I should come, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. You're here, I replied, watching her take in the changes, the desks, the posters, the hum of possibility. She stepped inside, her fingers brushing a new desk, her eyes wide. It's beautiful. Not what Sophia planned, but better. Have you heard from her? I asked, though I'd seen Sophia's social media. She'd moved to Miami, posting vague updates about new ventures. She's been dodging my calls, Mom said, setting the package down. The yacht sold last week. She hesitated, then pushed the package toward me. I want you to have this. I opened it, finding a check for $60,000, the exact amount of my college fund. My throat tightened. Mom, I can't. Please, she interrupted, her eyes pleading. It won't fix everything, but it's a start. I studied her face, seeing the toll of the past week's lines deeper, eyes tired. The proud woman who'd always backed Sophia was gone, replaced by someone raw, searching. I pushed the check back. No, Mom. Look around. I gestured to the lab, the books, the dreams taking shape. I built this without it, without you or Sophia. I need to know I can do this on my own. Her shoulders sagged, but she nodded, a flicker of respect in her eyes. A small group appeared at the door, our first students, early for orientation. Chloe hurried to greet them, while Margaret adjusted the flowers. What can I do? Mom asked, her voice soft. Can I stay? I surprised myself, the words coming before I could overthink. Come see what your daughter built, instead of what your other daughter promised. She wiped her eyes, a small smile breaking through. I'd like that. The orientation room filled quickly. Single parents seeking better jobs, teens who couldn't afford college, older adults chasing career changes. Every face carried a story of dreams delayed but not lost. I stepped to the podium, my prepared speech forgotten as I looked out at the crowd. Mom sat in the back row beside Margaret, her hands clasped. Chloe gave me a thumbs up from the door. Welcome to the Second Chance Education Center, I began, my voice steady, filling the room. This place exists because I believe everyone deserves a shot at their dreams, no matter where they come from or what others say is possible. As I spoke, I saw Mom's eyes glisten, tears slipping down her cheeks. But these weren't the tears of the family dinner, heavy with guilt. They felt like acknowledgement, like she was seeing Miralai seeing me for the first time. I shared my story, not the details of betrayal, but the drive to build something meaningful, to prove my worth. The room listened, their nods and smiles fueling me. Afterward, students left with registration packets, their chatter echoing with hope. Mom approached, her steps hesitant. What you said about second chances, she paused, her voice catching. Does that apply to moms too? I thought of the anger I'd carried, the hurt of being invisible. But I also thought of the strength I'd found, the center around me, the lives we'd touch. There's a business accounting class starting next week, I said, my tone light but sincere. Maybe sit in. Learn what it's like to build something real. Her smile was genuine, not the indulgent one she used to give. I'd like that. As she walked away, Chloe and Margaret joined me at the desk. So, Chloe asked, her eyes bright, how's it feel? I looked around at the classrooms, the computers, the space where dreams would grow. Like a win, I said, my voice soft. But not the way I expected. The best wins never are, Margaret said, pulling me into a hug. They're better. Through the window, I watched Mom get into her car. She paused, looking back at the center, her expression not regretful but proud. For the first time, I realized revenge wasn't about tearing others down. It was about showing them a better way to rise. Chloe handed me the class schedule, her grin wide. Ready to start teaching? I took one last look around, soaking in the hum of possibility. The center wasn't just walls and desks. It was a promisito myself, to others, to anyone who'd been overlooked. Ready, I said, my voice firm. As the first students trickled in, I thought of Dad, his quiet strength, his belief in hard work. I thought of Sophia, chasing her empire in Miami, still running from consequences. And I thought of Mom, taking her first steps toward something new. The hardest lessons had taught me the most. My worth wasn't tied to those who dismissed me. My dreams didn't need permission to grow. And the best revenge wasn't pine, it was becoming the person I'd always wanted to be. Weeks later, I stood in the center's library, shelving books as students studied nearby. Mom had started the accounting class, her notebook filled with careful notes. She'd even asked about volunteering, her voice shy but eager. Sophia sent a single text, brief and cold. "Good luck with your project." I didn't reply. Some bridges burn, and that's okay. Chloe dropped by, her laptop open to a new grant application. "We're gonna need more space soon," she said, her eyes sparkling. "This place is a hit." Margaret visited too, bringing cookies and stories of Dad's first shop. "He'd be proud," she said, her hand on mine. "You're building something that lasts." As the sun set over the Pacific, I stood outside the center, the ocean breeze cool against my skin. Oceanfront Walk glowed under the twilight, its windows alive with light. This was my story now, written in sweat, savings, and second chances. And it was only the beginning.